Happy Tuesday, beautiful souls. It would help if I actually switch the music off as well. And welcome to Emotional Fitness with me, Amy Dave. I am going to start my presentation just so I can remember the order of stuff. Okay. So welcome to your mini emotional fitness workout is what I'm calling this workshop. And like I said, we will be together for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I am Amy. I am a human on an extraordinary soul journey, is what it feels like. And I'm a transformative psycho-spiritual therapist, a self-love soul journey intuitive coach, and a domestic abuse specialist therapist. And you can find me on Odyssey, the platform with all the other wonderful practitioners we've got there who have various modalities. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go and check it out. It's a glorious community that we are creating. And there are loads of different events and sessions and things that you can try out on the platform. This session will be recorded and it will be uploaded onto the platform. If you are a member, which is currently free to sign up as a member, you'd be able to access the recording, which I highly recommend because I'm going to be asking questions. And it'd be lovely if you can either take a screenshot or you can go back and just pause if you're watching on the recording and take the time to write the questions down and then answer them in your own time. So that would be utterly fabulous. So why emotional fitness? So just like our physical health, your emotional fitness requires a lifetime commitment. There is no quick fix. And when we liken it to emotional fitness, or when I liken it to emotional fitness, it makes a lot more sense. And it made a lot more sense on my own journey. So if I was to go to the gym once or read a book about fitness or follow an influencer that works on fitness, it's not going to change anything about my own fitness. Yes, it might make me think a little bit more about my own fitness journey, but it's not going to change me. I'm not going to get a six-pack from going to the gym once. I'm not going to go into a gym and walk out thinking, that's me, I never need to go again. However, when it comes to our emotional health, our mental health, our spiritual self, we've kind of been taught not to take care of it in the way that we need to take care of it. But if we look at it exactly like our physical health, then it would make sense that we are connected to our emotional health and we have an emotional workout. We are building our emotional and mental muscles. We are taking the time to be with our emotional self so that we can grow those muscles. We can have an understanding of how we work emotionally, because how are we supposed to understand how our emotions work, how we work mentally, how we work spiritually, or who we are if we're not taking the time to be with ourselves? So for me, our emotional fitness is key to everything else, and is working on my emotional fitness that has changed the whole landscape of my existence, I would say. So I'm really big on, when I do any kind of work with anyone, so whether it's one-to-ones, whether it's my courses or workshops or whatever it is, it's really that it's about making a commitment to you. And I don't care if it's for like 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 hours. It's really, for me, nothing is an accident in life. There is no such thing. You are not an accident. You are on purpose. So first and foremost, like, take a moment to take that in. If you are here or if you are watching this, whenever it may be, it's not an accident. You brought yourself here for some reason. You are in front of this. Even if you came across it accidentally, it's not an accident. You are meant to be here. You are meant to see it. So there could be one thing in here that is for you or will resonate with you, or all of it is for you. So treat it as such. Make that commitment to being with yourself right now while you are in the presence of the workshop, and be on purpose about who you are and who you are being. when you are showing up to any space that you are in. And know that you are the focus of this. Relate it to yourself. When I embody the work that I do on myself, that's when it makes sense to me. When I realize that I am the focus of it, not other people. I don't do what I do to understand other people. Through understanding me, I understand the world. And so for me, if you can turn it inside, this is what this is really about for me. So it's time, if you are here, to stop living in the shadow of the person that you are too afraid to become. I 100% know that within you somewhere, you already know what you're capable of. You already know who you actually are. Now it's time to honor that. Now it's time to step into your greatness. It's never too late. And you don't have to wait for some perfect time. It takes a moment where you make a decision, where you go, no, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to show up for me because it's my turn now. So do that for you. Embrace that. Feel into it. How does that feel for you to put yourself first? Oh. So when I open any kind of group work, because there are different energies present, and I'm very aware of the energies present and my own, I really like to take the time to come into the space, to kind of join in the energies and to put the energy of love out there and to center and to relax and to ground. And again, everything that I do within the workshop itself are things that you can take into your own life. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to invite you to come into the space, to just close your eyes and to just take a moment to prepare, to ground, to get present, and to be with yourself. You're just going to close your eyes and just start feeling into your breath. You don't have to change it. Just be with it. Just feel the flow of your in-breath and the release of your out-breath. Take a moment to feel into your body. As you allow your breath to fill your body. Honor yourself. Take a moment to truly and deeply connect with yourself. Is it the first time that you've connected to your breath today? If so, just take a moment to give gratitude for the breath that keeps you alive. And allow yourself to feel whatever it is that may be coming up for you right now. And just release any thoughts that may come up. Just feel into your heart space, connect to your heartbeat, the seat of your soul. Allow yourself to open up your heart. Just visualize it as a flower, a beautiful pink rose. Just allow that flower to open. Allow yourself to be in this space with an open heart and an open mind. Allow yourself to feel what you feel, think what you think, be what you are. and to celebrate all of you. Know that everything that you hear today, somewhere within you, if it's resonating, you already know it. And this is your reminder. Have faith in you and your journey. Allow any messages that may be coming in. And just take a moment to remind yourself of the love that you are. And just bring your focus back to your breath, back to your body, the space that you are in, and the glorious energy that we are creating together. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay. So get on purpose. Set yourself a small intention, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. It doesn't matter how you word it for yourself, but set an intention for yourself so that you are on purpose. What would you like to gain from being in this space today? How are you going to show up? Are you going to be present? Are you going to engage? Are you going to ask a question at the end? Are you going to open your heart and mind? Are you going to allow yourself to walk away with something from here? Set your intention for what you would like to gain from being in this space today. And again, this is something that you can do on a daily basis as part of your routine. Get intentional about your life. How am I going to treat myself today? Get intentional. What is my experience of the today going to be? How am I going to step foot into this world? What would I like to do? Make it intentional. I love quotes, and this is definitely one of the quotes that came to me at a real time of transformation when I was going through a lot of spiritual awakenings. If the only thing that people learned was not to be afraid of their experience, that alone would change the world. And I know for me, I became my experiences, and that's how I lived my world. And it was frightening, and the world was frightening, and I was frightening, and people were frightening, and my relationships were frightening. And it was when I learned to not be afraid that things really started to take on a different experience for me, when I started to come from a place of love. So don't be afraid, beautiful souls. And this is your reminder. Okay, because often when I do my workshops or sessions, when I ask people the question, what is the most important thing in your life? They go searching, my kids, my family, the work that I do, whatever it may be. So what would your answer to this question be? Would it have been you? And I'm answering the question for you. I'm just saying that the most important thing in your life is you, because this is your story. You came here to create your human experience. And I know for a lot of people, there's that essence of, well, I've been kind of told that it's selfish and that I should be selfless, and that's a good way to be. And for me, when you're in this space, for the work that I do, it's really about expanding. I want you to take off all the boxes, open up to all the possibilities. Because the way that we've done it thus far hasn't worked. That's why we end up in the spaces we are in. So then the option is to do something different. But this is your story. This is your life. So the most important thing in your life is you. And if there's nothing else you take away today, beautiful souls, please let it be that. This is your story. It is about you. You can make it about other people as much as you wish to. But you and I both know, having lived in that space, I very much know that that left me wanting. I felt resentful. I didn't feel seen or valued or validated because I was trying to live my existence through other people validating my existence. And I made my story about everything, but not me, because I didn't feel important. Nobody told me I was important. So I am reminding you in this moment, you are important, you matter, this life is about you, and this is your story. So don't do yourself a disservice. You are the center of your universe because it is through you, the magic works through you. No. So essential through you. The question for me, and the question that I am giving you to walk away with, is who am I? Because really, how much time do you take to explore this question? Who are you? Who are you really? And it has taken me a good, I don't know, I'd say about 40 something years of my life to get to the point where I realized that I had no idea who I really was, because I had become like this patchwork quilt of all of the things that people told me I should do and all of the experiences that I had. And from that, I wove this story about who I was. And it was when I discovered this, where do you believe your experience of life is coming from? And I fully believed that it was from everything that had happened to me and all the people outside of me and my family and the things that I grew up with and my children and all of these things. And so I urge you to ask yourself that question: where do you believe that your experience of life is currently coming from? Because it has no choice. There is no other way. The reality of our life is that there is only one way that it works, inside out. And as you start to explore yourself, as you start to fall in love with yourself, as you come back to you, there is this realization that the war that's going on within you is the thing that starts to get reflected outside of you. So when I didn't trust me, around me, there were a lot of situations where I couldn't trust other people. When I was hard on me, around me, there was a lot of difficult relationships, people that were hard on me. When I didn't love me, I was in a lot of situations and relationships where I was not loved. Because that's what I created, because that's what I needed to affirm to myself, that this is who I am. And this is what life is showing me. But as soon as the change happens, and the only place it can happen is inside you, then it will radiate out into the world. And that's why this story is about you. Because whatever it is that you're doing in here is what is radiated back out and what is then reflected at you. Your experience of life. And again, take a moment, consider your experience of life. Consider the relationships that you are having in your life at the moment. Consider the circumstances around you. What are they reflecting to you? What are they reflecting about how you treat yourself? Because there's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So hold these things as we go through this process today. Okay, so a bit about me. These are some of the things that I've experienced. So it ranges from domestic abuse, which I experienced as a child and as an adult. And the reason was because I thought it was okay. And this is part of why I do the work that I do and why it's really important to be looking out for your emotional health, why it's really important to do the work on you. Because we relive the things that we start to think are completely normal. I mean, my conditioning, my story was that these things were normal. This is how life is. This is how relationships look. And this is how one treats oneself. Because I didn't know anything different, because nobody showed me anything different, because I didn't know how to go inside me and go, hold on a minute, it doesn't have to be like this. But also as a standalone, just human experience, it all felt extremely cruel and unnecessary and overwhelming. Like life was punishing me. Like this suffering was somehow because of who I was. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that believe the same things. But know that it isn't that. So it was the addition of my soul journey and bringing in the spiritual aspect of my journey as well that then helped me to make sense of my journey in the bigger picture of all of it. I know for me on my journey through the spiritual work that I do, through the soul work that I've done, the emotional work that I've done, that these were the things that I needed to experience to get to where I was. But that's not where I went with it in the first instance. In the first instance, I needed to acknowledge it. I needed to see it. I needed to go, oh my God, this is what I've actually been through. And at the time when I went through, for example, the anxiety and the depression, I was a high functioning depressive and I had high functioning anxiety because I just got on with my life. I didn't have the labels for it. I didn't have any of the diagnosis for it. I just thought that I have to get on with everything and just deal with it and suppress it and push it down. And that my validation was in being the strong one. Like that is something my mom said to me again and again and again as a child, even as an adult, but you're strong, but you're strong, but you're strong, Amy. And in that story, what it meant for me was that I couldn't tell people because it would be weak. I couldn't show an emotion because it would be weak. But that made all of the things that much worse and led to actually some of them manifesting. So the reason I share this and the reason I shared it in this workshop in particular is because I want you to know that no matter where you've been or what you've experienced, you are the key to that transformation. You can always change your story moving forward. And these are not the things that define who you are. None of these things define me. They are all a part of the story. And I've changed how I tell that story because, again, you write the story, you get to reframe it. And I see it differently now. I have a different relationship with what I've previously experienced. So allow yourself to acknowledge, create a timeline. These are the things that I went through. See it for yourself rather than running away from it. Own your story, honor your story. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to do it for you. So one of the things that I'm urging you to do is to create this little timeline where you can kind of go through your life, look at the ages that you were when certain experiences happened. And they don't have to be just negative experiences. What are the big things that happened that had a real impact on you? How old were you? What was the impact? How did you internalize the story? What do you believe it taught you about yourself? Because there are massive clues in there of how you deal with life now and your perception of what life really is. So for me, emotional fitness is really about reconnecting. It's about remembering and it's about recalibrating, which is about regrounding yourself in who you are. As I see it, and as my experience of life dictates, all of this is already yours. So for me, the work that we do on ourselves is never about you need to go out there and you need to go and do something or get something. You don't. It's already in you. For me, the work is really about removing the blocks, the obstacles that stand between you and who you really are, because that's what it is. all the things that you have been through, the relationships that you had early on, the cultural environment you were brought up in, the environment you were in, the religion that you may have been brought up in, your peers, the school experience, the work experience, all of these things have created obstacles between you and who you really are. Because you started to create a story about yourself based on the things that you experienced. So now, for me, emotional fitness is really about removing all of those things so you can come back home to you and who you really are. So it's about learning about emotional and mental regulation. Again, those things are natural when we're left in our state. That is natural to us. Okay, you are able to emotionally and mentally regulate, i.e., you own your thoughts and your feelings. They do not own you. It's really about rebuilding that trust, that faith in you. Because how can we have faith in anything outside of us when we don't have faith in ourselves? Okay, it's about growing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and materially. Because how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your life, how you feel about the world, it dictates how you show up. It dictates what you allow yourself to do and not do. And once we are in a grounded, centered, loving relationship with ourselves, everything becomes possible because we want the best for ourselves. We're going to take ourselves in that direction, right? When you truly love somebody, if you bring somebody to mind right now that you really love, you want the best for them, right? You're pushing them towards being their best self. But we often forget about it when it comes to us. So it's about being your cheerleader. It's about pushing yourself that way. And you're only going to do that when you are loving yourself. So emotional fitness is about really taking it back to the basics and being who you were in that state of innocence. It's about understanding yourself. And it's the process of subtraction. Because right now, if you are struggling, if you are overwhelmed, if you feel challenged, it's not because I lost my way then. The words just went. Rather, it is because you are not being true to you. Conflict arises when there's resistance, and resistance happens when we're trying to be something that we're not. When all of you inside of you is going, oh my God, not this way, not this way. I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel okay. And you're pushing yourself because other people are saying that you should, or you believe a story. And it's about experimenting. Your life is about experimenting. This human experience that you have been gifted, get experimental with it. You are not just this way. You are not just born like this. But we really have to kind of take that risk to experiment. Like, you know, that when I found it really difficult, I can't lie, like this journey, this process that I went through myself, I found so hard because of the way that my mind worked. Everything that I came across, I would very much at first just be like, no, this isn't for me. This doesn't work for me. I can't meditate. I can't journal. I can't do this. And I can't do that. So then I had to play the mind game where it was like, okay, let's do an experiment. Try to be like this for one day. And if it doesn't work, Amy, you can come back to the safety of being you. It's okay. So this is the thing. You have to know and understand how you work to create a different experience for you to actually do anything. Because otherwise, yeah, your mind plays games with you. Your ego is going to go, no, just stay here in your comfort zone. You don't have to do anything different because we like it here, even though it feels awful. Because a change isn't going to work and you're going to fail. Right? So experiment and do it slowly. Change one thing, not 100 things. Because otherwise you're feeding back into your self-fulfilling prophecy of I'm not good enough and I'm a failure and I can't do this. Do one thing. Breathe for 1 minute consciously. Journal for 1 minute because you can do it. Prove to yourself that you can do it by not making it hard. And for me, really, I kind of identify about 8 steps to coming back home to you. Number one is waking up. You know, that moment. So whether it's emotionally and you've gone through so many emotional things where you get to the point where you're just like, oh my God, this cannot be life. Like, I just can't cope with this. Or where you have spiritual awakenings and it's like, oh my God, this cannot be life. Like, you start to question, hold on a minute, I've done everything in the way that I was told to do it, but yet my life feels like this. Why? And surely this is not all there is. And I know for a lot of people, me being one of them, and I know for a fact there's going to be people watching it that have always known that there is a lot more. This is not how life is supposed to be. For me, that's the waking up. There's a process of where it's like, okay, no, we're not going this way anymore. This can't happen. And it's really important to tell your story. And I'm not saying that these are in an order, because I feel like they interplay and you go through all of them. It's not like you ever finish one of them and are like, okay, that's it, I don't need to go back there. For me, healing, emotional fitness, these are all lifetime processes. This is your commitment to you. Okay. So tell your story, even if it's to yourself, because a lot of people hide from their own story. Own that story. What have you been through? Because in that telling of your story, you're going to hear yourself, even if it's you recording it so that you are getting it out of your system, even if it's you just journaling it rather than saying it to somebody else. But tell your story. It deserves to be told. And when you're telling it, you will hear things in the way that you are telling it. You will hear the underlying character, the role that you've given yourself. So tell your story and tell it again and again if you need to. Allow yourself that. And observe. Observation is the biggest thing. So that is raising your consciousness, raising your awareness, being present, being here and now. All of those things are observation, right? It's about getting intentional. It's about I'm being here right now. It's about I'm watching myself, not watching myself being caught up in all of these thoughts and feelings and the stuff that I'm doing, but I am standing outside of that. And I am watching. I am curious about who I am being. Why am I responding in these ways? Why do I get frightened of being in these situations? It's really interesting how I show up like that when it's this person, but then I'm like that when it's this person. Get observational. Because that's when you realize that you're not the thinker. Because you can watch your thoughts. You can actually watch yourself having these thoughts and being in those feelings. So then you're not just the one that's creating those thoughts, and it will show you clearly that you can control your thoughts because you can observe them. And I want you to ask the question as well, when you're having these thoughts and you're observing it, this is not a case of being judgmental. I am like, do not be judgmental. You do not start giving advice to yourself. Do not start telling yourself off. Observation is with love. It's like you're watching a child play. You're kind of going, that's really interesting that they did that, or that they picked up that toy. Watch yourself with love and with this curiosity, because that's how you build up an understanding, right? When you're in relationship with any other person, the way you understand them is that you watch them, you're with them, you pay attention. So the only way to really get to understand who you are right now and why you are being the way you are being is to observe yourself, is to watch, is to be curious, is to show up. So observe without any judgment. And I am always intrigued to understand what people find out when they start to watch themselves, when they start to be the observer rather than the one that's overly involved in what's going on. So if any of you would like to come and give me feedback, please do. Please tell me what it is that you learn about yourself from just observing. Then it's really about understanding that you are having a human experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And then understanding the bigger journey, which is your soul journey. Okay, because your soul is on this mission of expansion, this mission of evolution. And this human experience in its entirety, when you look at the entirety of your soul's journey, this human experience is 3 to 4 minutes of that experience. But connecting to your soul journey reminds you that you are so much more. There is so much more going on here. It isn't just this solitary human experience, because honestly, I had no understanding of I just couldn't understand why I was going through everything I went through, because I also detached from religion at a very young age because it was kind of weaponized in my life. So it gave me meaning. It helped me to understand that, no, I'm not just on this fruitless journey. There is a reason. There are things that I am here to learn and do. Then there is your consciousness. So observation allows you to be conscious. It allows you to be aware, and it allows you to be here. Because if I am watching myself in this relationship or in this situation, or while I'm doing this presentation, and I am watching myself as I'm doing this presentation, and some of you might notice there are moments where I'm like, okay, I'm watching myself. There's something going on. Okay. Consciousness in its entirety. And I really didn't understand it before. I just thought it was a big fancy word and I just couldn't get my head around it, because that's how I used to treat myself and talk to myself. Consciousness is presence. It's being here. It's kind of going, okay, I can watch myself in this situation. And if I watch myself enough, I can change my response. Okay, when we're not being conscious, we are constantly reliving our past, because all we are doing is recycling from our past experiences. We are responding from our past experiences. We are reacting from our past experiences. So when we bring awareness, it is one of the most beautiful gifts we have as a soul and as a human. Because it's that allows us to do something different in this moment and to live in this moment, because there is nothing apart from right here, right now. And if I'm constantly just pulling from my past experiences, I can't create a new experience. And this is why people just recycle the same thing over and over and over and over again. And they can't break those cycles, because you're responding from who you were yesterday and the day before. You're not responding from who am I today? How would I like to respond to this? So for your presence to be present, you need to slow down. Rather than just reacting, take a breath in the middle and kind of go, okay, what's really going on? Where am I right now? This isn't a past situation. But again, these are things that I go through in depth in my workshops and in my sessions. So if you're interested, let me know. And it's about falling in love with all of you again. Okay, because you have this connection. Your soul has this connection to love. You are the energy of love. That's where you come from. So for me, it's not really just about falling in love with you. It's really about falling in love with you again. It's about discovering that love for yourself. And then it hits creation. Then when you've embodied it and you've taken back your power, you've connected to your greatness, your light is shining and you are allowing it. Then you can create or consciously co-create or manifest, because you are the creator. You have created so much, but it's been unconsciously. So imagine the power you have if you now switch that on and you start to consciously create. Imagine what you can create from that space. Because whether we like it or not, and one of the hardest truths for me to swallow was that I had unconsciously created all of the things that that I had created in my life that I was experiencing. So this is why it's important to get on purpose. So right now, what can you do for yourself? Okay. The thing I'm going to say to you is stop wasting time. Stop telling yourself that there's a perfect day, and when it gets to over here, and when my kids get old enough, or when I get a job, or when I don't this, or when I do this, or when I retire. No. They're all our excuses. Okay, that's all of our ego just going, oh, I'm comfortable here, even though it's dire and even though it's really hurting me, I'm going to stay right here because I know this space. Okay. So there is no excuse. Start where you are. Start with whatever it is that you've got. And I am telling you, over the last couple of years, the journey for me really intensified. And I've been on this healing journey, this growth journey, this spiritual journey for like 19 years consciously. But over the last couple of years, everything in my life fell away from me. So that was not the time to go within and be like, oh my God, I'll do it afterwards. That was the time where I needed to show up for myself. So if you are in crisis, if things are overwhelming, now is when you need to show up for yourself, right now, because we wouldn't abandon someone we love in a space where they're struggling. And if you haven't done it before and you haven't committed and you haven't shown up for yourself, just start now. Get present now, because it isn't about what's gone. Don't tell yourself off for the fact that you weren't there before. It's pointless sitting there and going, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do this and you weren't there for yourself then, or you weren't there for this, whatever. Forget all of that. Start where you are. Start now. Commit to yourself. Make a vow to yourself. We spend a lifetime making vows to other people, committing to other people and all this kind of thing. Make one vow to yourself today that you are going to make the space to focus on you. You are going to take 5 minutes out of your day to be with you, whatever it may be. One step at a time, one day at a time. Ask yourself, how am I actually loving myself right now? Would it be okay if I loved somebody else in the same way? Pay attention, get present, get aware, get conscious. Live for you. And your magic key is your presence. It is your consciousness. Because as soon as you land in the here and now, and you're kind of here. So if we're sat here right now, it's like, what problem have you got in this very moment? What is affecting you in this very moment? In this very moment. There is no past and there is no future. So worrying about either of those things is fruitless. It's a habit that you've created and you keep going, because as soon as there's that silence, you're like, oh my God, this doesn't feel good, doesn't feel comfortable. I'm not used to this. I'm used to my head going. And for a lot of people, I know for me as well, the overthinking, the overanalyzing, the thinking about everything, that was my medal of honor. That was how I validated my existence, in never stopping. You don't need to do that. Ask the questions that allow you to grow and expand. Honestly, questions are the key to everything. It is the core of my practice. Because only in like really being able to question myself and go, oh, that's really interesting. Why are you believing that? Because if you don't ask yourself, why are you believing what you're believing right now? Why are you being the person that you're being right now? Who told you that life has to be this way? If you do not ask those questions, you never get to kind of go, actually, is that true or not true? And one of my favorite questions, which I'm going to give to you and everybody, that's listening to this, is this true? Especially when you're thinking something about yourself, when you're saying something about yourself, write that question down. Ask yourself that question. Is this true? Is it really true? How do I know it's true? Where's the proof? So whatever it is that you're believing about yourself right now, if it's negative, ask yourself, how do you know that is true? Who told you? And just because somebody else said it, does it make it true? No, you're just choosing to believe that because it feeds into the story. Okay. So don't ask why people keep hurting you or why it feels like this. Ask yourself why you keep letting them do it. Why do you feel that you have to put yourself in those spaces? Because no one ever hurts us more than we hurt ourselves internally. So as soon as you start loving yourself differently, you are going to jump out of those spaces. It's going to be like, no, it's not okay for you to treat me like that because I don't treat me like that. So again, assess, where are you at right now? What kind of relationships, friendships have you got around you? And is that because that's how you treat yourself? Okay. I am aware of the time, so I am going to take you. Actually, I'm going to take you through this one. I'm getting the nudge to do it. Okay. So when I write this presentation, sorry, I didn't say this at the beginning, but when I do the presentation, it's really like it's guided and it just sort of whatever needs to come out just comes out. So this was something that came out and I feel like it's relevant to somebody that's going to be listening to it, if not multiple people. Okay. Because the thing is, how you're living life right now, and what I discovered about my own life is like I was trying to be something for everybody and I was miserable. I was so unhappy. I cannot tell you how unhappy I felt in my life. So I am asking you, because I feel like somebody needs to hear it. What are you trying to be and why? Because you have spent your life being all the things to all the people. You have done what you were told that you should do, you must do, you have to do. You're struggling, you're feeling unaligned, you are suffering, you are trying to fit into all of the constructs and concepts and boxes, and you're not enjoying it. And then you get to the point where you're like, well, what is this life? Realize that you cannot live like that anymore. Because I know that you already know that. I know that you're already questioning it. I know that you're already in that space. And, you know, Amy, what do you want and need from your life? What do you really want to do? What do you love? How do you want to be? Life felt a lot easier. Because suddenly I didn't have to worry about what everybody else needed from me and what everybody else wanted me to be. And that happiness within me, it radiates back out. So either way, it's not a thing of like, I'm loving me and not loving you. It's like, finally, I am loving me and I am loving you. So make this about you. It is not about anybody else. But as you change, as you fill yourself with love, there is no option other than for it to radiate back outwards and for other people to experience that. And when we allow ourselves to be fully everything that we are giving other people the permission just by being that, to be all of what they are. Where are we at? Okay. So yeah, who are you? If you are present now, you can take a screenshot of this because this for me would be one of the things that I would ask you to take away and really work on is who are you? Just to answer these questions, to take the time. And there's no like correct answer. There's no right or wrong answers to any of the questions that I'm putting to you. They're really for self-discovery. They're really to sit with again and again, not even just once, because on different days, you're going to feel differently. But like, you can write each one of these questions at the top of a page. And every time something comes up for you, go and write it down. Because it's about building up this picture of who you actually are without what you do and the roles that you play. Okay, so when I meet people, for example, if I go on a date, okay, I don't care what you do. The question I ask is, who are you? Because that's what matters to me. So take the time. Like, are you living your life for you? Are you really? Or are you living it for others? Are you actually happy? And what does happy mean to you? Are you loving yourself? Do you know how to love yourself? Because I know that I didn't. Do you live a life you love? What do you value? Why do you value it? What is important to you? Why is it important to you? What do you do every day? Do you find that fulfilling? Or do you just do it because you're supposed to do it? And do you feel loved? Do you feel valued? Do you feel heard? Are you giving yourself those things? It's that inquiry. And the answer to it may be no. To a lot of it may be no, actually. But the only way to know, the only way to create something different is to understand where you are right now. And it's okay to be sad about it. I was sad about it when I looked at my life and was like, oh my God, I've just lived for other people and I'm not happy. But it was in knowing that, in embodying that, in being okay with that, in accepting that, that I was then able to create something different. So ask yourself the question again and again, again, who am I? Why am I? Because you can recreate yourself every single day. And I'm going to leave you with, the love experiment. Okay, 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day to just be in a quiet space for you, to find some stillness, to breathe, to let go of everything outside of you, to focus on the love within you, and to notice what really happens when you sit in stillness with yourself. So this doesn't have to be a meditation. I'm not putting that word in there because I know people resist, but it's about being with yourself without distraction, fully being with yourself. So it's not about like, I'm sitting on the train, so I'm going to be with myself for 5 minutes. No, it's fully finding this space, whether it's like when you wake up in the morning, whatever it may be, fully connect to your breath, as we did at the beginning, connect to your heart, and just be with you. What happens when you do that? Because this is about building up the connection to you. The only way to really do that is to spend time with yourself, as you do when you're in relationship with others. Okay. And again, come and let me know. How did that go? And I guess I would love to leave you with this quote. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. Know that, own that, and own that with pride as well. So I'm choosing to stay this way. See what happens when you say that to yourself. I'm choosing not to change anything. Own it. So this has been me. I am Amy. And you can find me on Odyssey, the platform, where there are lots of other events. I'll be doing different events through August as well. And I just want to say a big thank you for being with me. As I said, this recording will be on the platform at some point, and you can revisit it. But thank you very, very much for being with me. I'm going to stop the presentation here. Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording as well.